You are listening to Third House Podcast, where we blend astrology, witchcraft, and creativity to design our own magical lives. I'm your host, Brittany Pastuhov, a psychic tarot reader, astrologer, and coach dedicated to helping ambitious witches overcome their fears and forge fulfilling, spiritually aligned vocational paths. Whether you're looking for guidance through astrology readings, tarot, or my signature astro-empowerment coaching, this is your space for inspiration. It's my hope that these episodes push you to embrace your dreams and turn them into reality. Let's dive into the magic. Okay, welcome to the lunar cycle forecast for the Taurus lunar cycle. It's Gemini season now. I'm recording this on May 21st, true to form, late. Uranus and Gemini continues to surprise, but we persist. So we're shifting from Taurus season to Gemini season now. Someone into Gemini yesterday, May 20th. I'm looking at the chart right now. If you're looking at the video of the new moon in Taurus, which was at 25, almost 26 degrees of Taurus, which was on the fixed star algol. And as we shift from Taurus season to Gemini season in this coming lunar cycle, there will be sextiles to Saturn and Neptune in Aries and conjunctions with Uranus in Gemini. So the energy is getting a little wild. We have a Mars-Pluto square coming up on June 5th. We have Uranus and Gemini making a T-square with the nodes, which it has been, but as the nodes start to move toward Aquarius and Leo, which they'll shift into in late July. And we also are almost at the last month of Jupiter in Cancer. So we have a Jupiter-ruled full moon coming up on May 31st and a lovely Jupiter-Venus conjunction on June 9th, just to kind of highlight for you what's coming up. And then we're shifting into a more fiery season with Venus into Leo and then Jupiter into Leo. And July will be big with eclipse season and major transits. So let's get into the Taurus new moon. So this new moon chart, we have a new moon that is conjunct Mercury in Taurus and out of sign conjunction with Uranus in Gemini, May 16th. This is kind of our spring new moon, Taurus spring start, but it's got a bang and a trickster element, especially on fixed star algol, and then especially conjunct that Uranus and that Mercury. We're living in a time of history that, as in times before, will change the ways of the world significantly. And so my question for you as of the last forecast was, you have opportunities here, what will you do with them? Because if we are in a liminal space, if we are in a time of change, it is shaky and it is confusing and it can be hard at times, but it also provides a lot of opportunities. So I said start and build slowly if there's something new that you're doing with Taurus. And if you don't know, this kind of past week might have been a time when you found inspiration. And then on the 17th, we had Mercury enter Gemini and make that conjunction even closer with Uranus and Gemini. Mercury has been presenting to me as the psychopomp, Mercury as trickster, Mercury in domicile ruling Gemini in this sign of intelligence and thinking, of youth, of words, of doubles, of the liminal. It's extra weird ideas and communication with Uranus involved. It's the extra ability to tap into the language of the birds, into clairaudience, things that you might hear, things that you might see that aren't usually as visible, synchronicities and verbal brilliance. Okay, so Mercury is there now as of the recording of this podcast, and then Mars entered Taurus on technically the 18th. And if Mars is desire and action, and Mars got off of that conjunction to Chiron in Aries, which is helpful, I think, for a lot of people. If Mars is desire and action, movement and survival, and Taurus is what is sustainable and what perseveres, the best use of this Mars in Taurus is to act strategically and carefully to grow and sustain. Pursuit of pleasure in moderation with taste is never a waste. It's spring after all. So we might as well try to enjoy ourselves while we are here, even in the midst of times like these. Venus also entered Cancer May 18th. And Venus, of course, rules relationships and love, as well as the receiving principle, pleasure, creativity, beauty, art. Cancer is the sign of home and family, of intuition and psychic senses, and therefore the imagination. So it's a lovely creative time to embrace sensitivity and those you love, to hold those you love close, and to dream and imagine, because Venus really is very, very creative and artistic, or to participate in and enjoy works of art and of nature. The sun entered Gemini on the 20th. So we have Sun in Gemini conjunct Uranus closely, and the Sun, of course, the center of our solar system, illumination, this joy, this glow. And what is illuminated now is the Gemini principle of the mind. So the hallmark of intelligence being the ability to hold two opposing ideas at once. And Gemini gets a lot of flack in like pop culture for, being maybe like unreliable or not being able to stick to one idea, but that also has to do with our assumptions and values as a culture around ideas and the rigidity with which we have been asked to hold them of late, especially around politics. So, the hallmark of intelligence being the ability to hold two opposing ideas at the same time in one's mind is a very Gemini characteristic Gemini should be proud of. And it also is, a sign of speech, of the expression through speech, and yes, sometimes of doublespeak and tricksters. And so we have to be discerning. We have to use that Virgo and discernment that Mercury also rules. But Mercury in Gemini is brilliant at wordplay, is brilliant at holding multiple ideas in the mind at once, is brilliant at stitching them together and creating new things out of them. On the 22nd, we have Venus in Cancer squaring Neptune in Aries. So making this square to Neptune from Cancer. It's kind of an extra sensitive day, perhaps for some, but also good for dreaming through the fog of Neptune. If Neptune is making it kind of hard to see where you're going, to hold the vision for yourself, good for imaginative activities. But yes, a very sensitive day, the 22nd. And then we have the sun officially conjunct Uranus on the 22nd. So we have this like sun Uranus energy kind of leading through the 20th, through the 22nd, especially. And that's more intensely Gemini, more intensely many ideas, many speakers at once with surprises. The sextile to Saturn that the sun is making and Uranus is making here to Saturn in Aries. I say Mercury. It's Mercury at 11 degrees of Gemini that is making that exact sextile to Saturn, and the sun that is working up to it. Um, Mercury sextile Saturn, what is it you're working toward and building May 22nd? Your ideas matter, and they can be made into real matter. They can be made real, but it does take effort. So thinking about that on the 22nd too, as well as dreaming through the fog with that Venus Neptune square, if it can be hard to see where you're going. On the 24th, we have the sun in Gemini sextile Neptune. So again, the sextile is a friendly aspect. Sun breaks through clouds. You can still work towards clarity, even if it is a little more difficult than it was, depending on your chart placements in Aries, with Neptune in Aries. On the 26th, and of course, this is building the whole time, we have Mars square Pluto. Mars at 5 degrees of Taurus, squaring Pluto at 5 degrees of Aquarius. This is exact on the 26th and building until then. I don't love this. Seeing this coming, it's like a fight is brewing, power and control being used unwisely for unjust reasons, people up to no good. The best use of this is to remember what you're fighting for and what justice looks like, what you are aiming to grow and sustain, and how you want to transform society for the better. And hold on to that. It's often a threat to desire makes desire even stronger, and that is what you're looking for in the transformation of Pluto and Aquarius. And that strong desire is something Mars in Taurus is very, very good at, sustaining a strength of desire. On the 26th, the sun trine Pluto as well. So we have that Mars Pluto square, but we also have the sun making an exact trine to Pluto from Gemini. And the sun creates the shadows, without which we would have no definition. It would not be, 3D. Artists use shadow to replicate 3D reality, right? So we need the shadows to define the light. What can be pulled out of the shadow here on this, especially with this Mars square Pluto, like what can be pulled out of the shadow? As I said, sometimes a threat to desire makes the desire ever stronger. There is something, an opportunity or some kind of light that can be pulled out of this day, May 26th. On the 28th, we have Venus square Saturn. So Venus still in Cancer and making that exact square to Saturn, as we have like when we have planets moving through Gemini, they're making sextiles to that Saturn Neptune Aries conjunction. But then when they're moving through Cancer, they're making squares, which is a more tense and often dynamic and active aspect. Sometimes reality hurts our feelings, like versus what you want to imagine to be true or what you wish were true. What is real and what is perception? May 28th, how can you close the gap between the dream and the present moment? You are more powerful than you think, and ever more powerful with a trusted friend at your side if it's a loved one that helps you to get through the challenge. On the 31st, we have our Sagittarius full moon. Just pulling up the chart for this. So we have our full moon in Sagittarius. It is trine, although I have the aspects very tight here, but it does make a trine to Neptune and Saturn in Aries here because Sagittarius is a fire sign. So moon in Sag is the last Jupiter-ruled full moon while Jupiter is in is his exaltation in Cancer. So mark your calendar for May 31st or May 30th, as it's this full moon is exactly full at 4:45 a.m. Sagittarius full moon can be used for luck, for breaking through barriers or road opening, especially with the trine to Saturn and Neptune in Aries, for the collection and expansion of knowledge, for travel dreams, explorations, journeys, for the increase of joy, or for expanded opportunities and luck in whatever house is holding Sagittarius in your chart, or is holding Jupiter in Cancer in your chart. Both of those houses are kind of highlighted at this time in your natal chart. So, for example, if Sagittarius is in my sixth house, perhaps I'm enchanting for good health. If it's in my ninth house, perhaps I'm enchanting for some kind of like travel dream that I have, a trip I want to take, or something I want to learn. 10th house, perhaps it's career, or if I have Jupiter in any of those houses, I can also be enchanting for those things. So, if you want to apply it specifically to your chart, you can. But I think whatever you have a need for, whatever it is that you need in the realms of luck and joy and positivity and opportunities. If you have a need for something specific, do that. It doesn't matter as much what the chart says, as much as what your life is saying, and they usually line up anyway. June 1st, Mercury enters Cancer, and things get slightly calmer here with Mercury entering the sign of sensitivity and more emotional communication. So protect what matters, take care of what is yours to take care of, say what needs to be said, but with attention to others' feelings. Cancer often gets accused of kind of keeping things in or like holding on to resentments. Like, do say what needs to be said. Don't listen to the impulse to kind of hold on to it. But with attention to sensitivity for others as well. The sun in Gemini, the sun in Gemini sextile Saturn in Aries on June 2nd. This may bring ideas. I mean, Gemini in general is ideas. Wherever Uranus is transiting in Gemini may bring you a lot of breakthroughs and awakenings in some way, as well as surprises. The sun sextile Saturn says ideas to break through blocks and open roads with effort. So it will take effort, but it's also like a friendly, kind of a helpful thing. Like maybe you find a way to solve a problem June 2nd or around then as it builds there. And then June 3rd, we have Mercury in Cancer square Neptune. So again, things moving through the cardinal signs, moving through Cancer, making squares to this Neptune-Saturn conjunction. So I think squares are very active and dynamic. This can be active imagination, the imaginative principle working through you and speaking through you, speaking through the fog, clearing some confusion with clarity, speaking from the heart with Mercury in Cancer. On the 9th, we have Venus meeting Jupiter in Cancer. This is a lovely aspect that builds, I would say, at least a week before then. So, yeah. you have from the beginning of June, Venus in Cancer making that conjunction aspect to Jupiter. And then on the 9th, it is exact. Um, this is good. This is a lucky day, especially where you have Cancer in your chart and what that means for you. Jupiter in Cancer is expansion and optimism and protection in, particularly home and family and Cancerian areas of life, like the imagination, like food, abundance. And then Venus just increases that and offers more love to the situation. So Venus and Jupiter, they're together. That's a nice magical day to take advantage of for that Jupiter in Cancer, that exalted Jupiter, if you want to get another good day out of it before Jupiter goes into Leo, which is also great, but it's just not the exaltation, the sign of the exaltation, where Jupiter is especially in a favorable position, and that has been really helpful given what is unfavorable happening sometimes in the astrology of the world here. Okay, on the 10th, we have Mercury in Cancer square Saturn in Aries. So, making that exact square, which has been building. Sensitivity is a strength. Don't let fear make you back down from what matters to you and where you are meant to lead. This is a bit of a challenge to perhaps a fear or some fear of authority and leadership that you can rise to as well. Again, speaking from the heart or for protecting what you care about. On the 13th, we have Venus moves into Leo. And again, Venus, we know relationships, love, art, beauty, pleasure. Leo is all about self expression, especially creative, but also like leading in creative pursuits, kind of like leading often a theater troupe or like some kind of the star of the show, but the star as the center needs to kind of embody the mood of the room, right? Like lift everyone else up. So that kind of leadership, authority and loyalty, courage and confidence, generosity, warmth, self love, but also generosity for others. Like Venus in Leo goes really big. So going big for others, like being generous in what you're able to give to others, and also being generous to yourself in pursuing what you love and shining your light as well, and finding others who love you for that. That's very Venus in Leo energy. That starts June 13th this year. And then we have our next new moon, which is at 24 degrees of Gemini on June 14th. Makes no other major aspects. We have Uranus and Gemini making that nodal square at the bending of the nodes, like just really highlighting our attention at this time with changes and surprises in the way people are thinking, in the new technologies that are being created, in the new ideas that are coming forth, in what's in the air and the electricity of the moment. So you can tap into that current with the new moon in Gemini on June 14th. This brings fresh ideas and perspectives to our realm. I think playing with ideas is very good fun to me. And to me, the key to having good fun without crossing the line into a loss of integrity is discernment. Discern what is true, practice your discerning skills of intuition, of critical thinking. Intuition very big here with Mercury and Cancer and Jupiter already, very supported, of asking more questions and doing more research. Proper skepticism, that is not blindly following what others say is true or not true, but actively investigating, is of the utmost importance, I think, in these times. So use your mind or you will lose it to somebody else's control in some ways. And the new moon in Gemini is a fresh start for tapping into that current of brilliance and thinking in a way that is still discerning for you. So that is my Taurus new moon lunar cycle forecast from mid May through mid June of this year. Coming up in the next forecast after that Gemini new moon, we'll have the summer solstice and we'll be heading into the end of June when Chiron moves into Taurus and Jupiter moves into Leo. And then we have our whole eclipse season in July. So that's what's coming up. You can hear more about everything in the 2026 forecast that I already did. But this is just more of a detailed preview of each upcoming lunar cycle. And I hope to also publish a few more podcast episodes in between that one, this current episode, and the next one. Make sure to listen to my conversation with Lucy Baldwin, which has also been posted today. magic to change your life. And I will talk to you soon.